Today's video is sponsored by our friends at EGS Expert Grading Services located in Florida, the place to get custom labeled on your comics. As well as our friends at PJX Comics. Again, if you're looking for a more traditional look on your comics, shipping nationwide. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Codename New to Hero 2. Hi, I'm your presenter, GIJoe. So piggybacking off of yesterday's when we looked at the Hasbro Pulse offering of the first O-ring figure since the early 2000s to be offered in the Snake Eyes Storm Shadow package. If you didn't check out that episode, but I thought that I would follow that up because I kind of alluded to it a little bit yesterday or the other day in reference to what issues that relate to these two iconic characters. Obviously, when you have a catalog as extensive as G.I. Joe from 1982 to what's currently going on, it's impossible to cover all the issues. But just for shits and giggles, I'm just going to bring out some of the issues that I had graded that relate to these iconic characters. So you too can utilize the services at PGX or EGX to get your books graded and encased. Now, again, don't focus in on the grades. That's the big faux pas of modern comic kiddos, is that everyone's chasing these 9.8s and 9.8s. For me, it's the book that means the most to me. And as a fan, I think you'll agree that having the book, having it encased and engraved like a piece of artwork, you know, so that's how I look at it. So, of course, we're going to start off with the first obvious book. And before we begin, I apologize to my regulars because, you know, we do monthly unboxings as well as the special G.I. Joe graded issues. So a lot of these you've seen before. But I just thought, in relations to this wonderful offering, I thought let's pull some comics and look at it. So, obviously, with number one is number one. G.I. Joe issue number one. Now, I'm lucky to have two. The 9.0 is back there, but for this case, I'm bringing out the 7.0 newsstand variant. Of course, this is Snake Eyes' first appearance in G.I. Joe or anything, and boy, what a great issue it is. Now, I recently reported a couple months ago that an absurd 9.9, which is nearly perfect, got a $25,000. Someone purchased it for $25K. Now, the 9.9 is the unicorn in it, and coupled with the fact that this is a hot book at the time, prices have cooled down on G.I. Joe issue number one. So now is the time to buy. Did you hear that? Now is the time to buy G.I. Joe issue number one before something new happens where the prices shoot back up. And this book, even modern comic collectors that have no business and, you know, no connection with G.I. Joe have been scooping this up, and I just don't want to make sure that the fans get and hold this issue, not these money-hungry modern comic whippersnappers, you know. So now is the time, if you haven't, to be on the lookout for this wonderful issue, as well as if you do, send it in to get graded using PGX or EGX. Now, the second issue, obviously, I alluded to it yesterday, and if you're a G.I. Joe fan, no big surprise. Issue number 21, the first appearance of Storm Shadow. Everybody knows this as the silent issue, but the second most important significance is that it's the first appearance of Storm Shadow in the G.I. Joe mythos. And like I said, being one of the top 3 characters in the entire franchise, it is noteworthy, and while that in itself, the fact that it is historically significant, and again, the same thing as I said with the G.I. Joe issue number one. Modern comic people are scooping this issue up if they could find it. It's one of those books that will always be at a solid price and locked in. Prices have dropped a little bit with the underperformance of Snake Eyes Origins. That whole thing in the shitstorm that it's in, underperforming, and I don't think a follow-up movie may not come about. I don't know. But at the time, both these two issues were skyrocketing like rockets. They have cooled off since then. So if you don't have one, now is the time to also look and invest in this. And again, this is a newsstand variant. It's been through some war, and you could tell with newsstand variants, not getting a high grade. Don't expect that. If you have this barcode in the corner, I actually was able to get a second one, a direct mail edition that is off to the graders right now. So I have 2 issue number 1s and 2 issue number 22s. And again, if I didn't do anything in comics, just to have those 2, I would be done and happy with. So G.I. Joe issue number 21. Now the third book is a sleeper. A lot of old school G.I. Joe fans may not even know about it, but I did a recap of this as this came out only a few months ago. And that is G.I. Joe issue number 286. Now, what makes this interesting is we finally learn about how Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes first met with Tommy Arashikage's backstory in the Vietnam War. So we find out, with that famous LRC unit of Stalker, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow, Wade Collins. It's just amazing to see, to go back. And I think this is, as Larry's approaching the end, this is something he always wanted to complete. And I'll show you when we look at 2 other issues how it gives you the full picture of their friendship and dynamic as far as, their relationship, how it all began. And I think this is one of those modern issues that I've been telling on all the groups and everything that they need to pick up. And this is going to be off to grading as well, because it's significant. If you're a G.I. Joe fan, you get to see how it all started. So G.I. Joe issue number 286. As I mentioned yesterday, the next 2 issues kind of piggyback right after issue number 21, starting with issue number 26. So we finally get the backstory of the relationship between Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Again, the previous 286 kind of completes these 2 key issues of Snake Eyes' backstory. It's more focusing on Snake Eyes, where 286 is more focused in on Storm Shadow. But all in all, we get a picture of their time in Vietnam and what they had to endure, what Snake Eyes had to endure, losing his family, and why there is now a rift between them, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. And so 286, and then again 287 continues that. We see that we learn about the Hard Master, and what happened with the assassination, and why still Storm Shadow is a bad guy, but we don't know what, we start to know what his intentions are and going in. And this is when Snake Eyes kind of offers his hand for Storm Shadow to redeem himself, so to speak, but all along, that's what makes these 2 issues so important, is that it deals with the origin of not just Snake Eyes, but again, these 2 iconic characters. Their relation is symbiotic, and I think that's what makes it so intriguing and why they're so beloved. The fact that Storm Shadow was probably the first ninja in the ninja crazed 80s and early 90s. But again, these 2 are really key books to pick up. Sadly, this one is, despite it being a newsstand variant, it fell and it got a crack on it. So unfortunately, you can see up top here is a little bit of, so that's why I prefer EGS as far as mounting it on walls, but I like PGX the way it's nice, thick, and sturdy. So be careful when you display these. Again, don't put it so high on the ground, and make sure they have plenty of support in case this one, I think someone slammed the door and it fell that way. So issue number 26 and 27. Now, the next issue may not really relate to their relationship, but it's still an iconic Snake Eyes cover in itself. This is going to be G.I. Joe issue number 63, the Mike Zeck cover. And again, what an amazing cover. This stands the test of time. Now, there's several variants of this issue, with the most prized, actually the third printing of this, the Just for Fun or something like that, 3-pack that this came in. I think it was a Woolworth or something exclusive, if I remember offhand. But that's the one, not the first print. It's the third print of this one is more rare and scarce to find. So if you see something like right here that says Just for Fun or what have you, pick that up, because that is actually more valuable than even the first print. But again, this is just an iconic Snake Eyes cover. So issue number 63. Now, just like issue number 26 and 27, the next two are related in the big story arc that was coming towards the end of the G.I. Joe run. We're going to start off with issue 149, in the sense that Storm Shadows went in to, I guess, free some Joes and gets captured. I'm having trouble with my words. Gets captured by Cobra Commander and is subjected to the brainwave scanner. Snake Eyes has since kind of went off and semi-retired into his Nevada, in the hills of the mountains somewhere, and he gets word of that, his sword brother is captured. So, like a typical thing out of the 90s or 80s with the Rambo, he goes on a warpath in issue number 150. Now, you got to remember, at the end of the Marvel run, the print run was really, really low. And these issues, I know a lot of people target issue 155, but all of those issues around this time are valuable in itself because they have low print runs. So getting these are advantageous, and it relates to the story. And at this point, I guess the news of G.I. Joe being ended was sudden, because the storyline, there was more to go with, we find out that Baroness, Billy, and Storm Shadow are all back on Cobra's side. So it's like a restart for the entire franchise that Larry Hama was working towards when they pulled the plug. Of course, he resumed it in the IDW run with G.I. Joe being shut down and then coming back online again. But again, these are very cool key issues to have in the relationship and the dynamic of these two characters. The fact that, their blood, their brotherhood, the fact that Snake Eyes, he went on a warpath. I mean, that's all I could say. It's an amazing read, wonderful artwork, and it's just so 90s that getting these two books are definitely worthwhile. And again, just keep on the lookout, and especially back bins and local comic shops and stuff. You might find good deals on these issues, and they're often overlooked. So targeting these two are very advantageous for you, and they're really cool to have. Again, this is the EGS custom label that I featured a couple weeks ago. That they came back, totally love it. The first hooded Cobra Commander custom label that's been put out there. So I'm honored to have that. This is a CGC book when I was utilizing that service. I don't really like CGC. They treat you like crap, and you wait like 4 to 8 months. Or one guy waited 14 months to get his books back. So yeah, that's why I recommend PGX and EGS, because your turnaround time is a lot faster with them. The same thing with PGX, and they treat you like people. Like, they get back to you. They tell you, oh, this book is going to get this grade. Do you still want to do it? And I got a lot of feedback and great customer service dealing with these. So that's why I am a supporter of these two companies. So the next two books are, again, they are side by side. It's the Death of Snake Eyes story arc. And this is actually the series that kind of got me back into G.I. Joe back in 2015. I remember sitting at my desk at work and seeing a blurb on Yahoo News that iconic character Snake Eyes is dead. And that's what started all this renaissance for me. And this is, believe it or not, the second print, which is the more sought after. It's the lower print run of The Death of Snake Eyes. So actually, issue number 212 is when Snake Eyes actually dies. So this is a really key book. A lot of old school fans don't know about it. And if you want to, you could watch the recaps. I did entire 4-issue recaps. One of my early videos, so bear with me as far as the production quality. Not that I'm like some movie, like I'm raw and I like it that way. I'm not any fancy bells or whistles. I'm just like you guys out there. So anyway, this is a really cool book to pick up. Again, you have to watch the episode or read it to know that Snake Eyes' death is kind of like, you know, it wasn't that great, you know, for such an iconic character. I'm sorry, I'm a big Larry Hama fan, but I was kind of underwhelmed by the way he died. But again, this is the second print, the one that I wanted to get and targeted because of this cover itself. It's beautiful, the gray and everything. And of course, EGS with the custom Snake Eyes custom label for me. Again, his book presents and looks beautiful. It matches seamlessly with the cover. That's what I love about EGS, is that these custom labels, they just look like an extension of the cover. And again, I have this displayed. Many people have seen it. They're always in the background, and like being thin, I don't have to worry about them falling, and that's why I love having EGS books. The second, again, I talked about it in an earlier episode, is probably the book, the comic that means the most to me out of all of the things that I have, and that is a signed Larry Hama issue number 215. So this, now we're dealing with the actual funeral of Snake Eyes, and again, this is an homage, kind of like a twist to the card back of the version 2, or I don't know, it's a mix of version 1 and version 2 card back, and then, like, you know, it's like a customized card back. But again, the fact that it has Larry Hama's signature on it, and let's see if you can see it there. I talked about it more extensively in that episode, but again, the red and black label for this, I just had a regular, I just wanted it to be, I wanted the signature to be the big focal point. So just having the basic color scheme to match with it is exactly the right touch that EGS did for me when they went and graded this book. So GIJoe issue number 215, part of the Death of Snake Eyes 4-part miniseries. The next book we're going to showcase is another book that many old school G.I. Joe fans may not know about, and that's issue number 250, the Dawn of the Arashikage series. This is a wonderful series. Wow. I mean, you talk about a little bit of everything in it. It's a complete whirlwind of emotions. Basically, again, I recapped this issue, but just to give you the gist, Dawn Marino is a prodigy who has a lot of these athletic skills. She's like, you know, displays all that. But so Cobra, she actually grows up in Springfield, and she becomes Cobra Commander's bodyguard. That's how good this girl is. So Mindbender and Cobra Commander decide to, you know, they have some of the Snake Eyes' files from when he was subject to the brainwave scanner back in the Marvel run. So they decided they wanted to improve Dawn's prowess by inputting all of Snake Eyes' prowess into this poor girl. Well, it turns out that Snake Eyes' conscience takes over this girl, and he goes out on a killing warpath. I mean, there's dead bodies, dead red ninjas sliced up to all kinds of hell. This is the artwork done by Nito Diaz in this book is worth it alone. But again, we have the only person that could stop Dawn, who is essentially Snake Eyes reincarnated, is Storm Shadow. So you have to understand that he's trying to amend the things he didn't finish in life. Like he goes after Firefly. It's such a great story, often overlooked, but Dawn of the Arashikage is one of those wonderful surprises. So if you haven't, check out that episode and follow it up by reading it and enjoying it yourself. But Dawn of the Arashikage, issue number 250, would be my last. I mean, there's others, but I think this is my last connection that I wanted to feature in this episode. So just wrapping up, I just thought it'd be fun to add to yesterday's video when we looked at these O-ring reissue figures of the iconic versions of these. I thought it was, you know, these books complement yesterday's issue really nicely. And it's kind of fun, like, you know, I didn't want to bring out everything. Like I said, there's a big, with the catalog as extensive G.I. Joe, it's impossible to cover every minute instance where their relationship is shown, but just for shits and giggles, I thought those were a few important keys that I had graded and I just wanted to showcase, and you know, it's just fun. So anyway, this is GIJoe. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. We'll finally have the recap for issue number 288 up shortly. Have a good one. Peace.